What is up, guys? It's Alicia here with Keller Williams South Tampa, bringing you another Millennial Monday. All right, so we're going to look at a lot of visuals today for our video topic for two reasons. One, it's like way more helpful and easy to understand when you can see it. And two, I haven't had the chance to get my eyebrows done in a long time. So we're not going to look too much at those. Don't look at them. All right, so anyway, anyone who tells you that the real estate market is in a bad place right now or it's suffering does not know what they're talking about. I have never worked with so many buyers at one time. And because I'm working with as many buyers as I am the number of times I'm having this question is pretty high. So I'm going to go ahead and make a video on it so that you guys, I've been meaning to do it anyway, right? And the topic for this week is going to be how do I present an offer, or how do we determine how do I make an offer? Let's just say that. How do I make an offer on a property, right? So we're going to start high level and I'm going to kind of zoom in on a few visuals, right? Ooh. By the way, guys, I'm wearing my Tampa Heights shirt today to represent my hood. And this is where I pulled the listings from. There are 3 listings that we're going to take a closer look at today. And they're all from my neighborhood. So I just wanted to do that because I didn't want to put on a nice shirt, okay? So when you go to purchase a home or make an offer on a home, this is an art and a science, right? It's a little bit of both. You have the human element, there's negotiations, and then there's also the data, right? So first and foremost, how much do you want it, right? That's going to really determine how aggressive you are with your offer. If you're like on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you're at about a 5, and there's a lot of competition on the property, maybe there's multiple offers, and you're not willing to pay maybe as much as the next guy, it might not even be worth your time to present the offer, if I'm being honest. Because, I mean, if you're ambivalent and you're not really that stoked on it, then, whatever. If you're at a 7 or above, like you really love the place, at that point, we would definitely zoom in on these numbers, take a look and see what we can do to make your offer aggressive. Now, that being said, when I say aggressive, I don't always mean money. Everyone just assumes that the highest bidder wins for a bidding war, which, I mean, in most cases is true, but there's a whole 3-dimensional picture here, right? Like, when do you need to close? What are your contingencies? What type of financing do you have? And this is where my work begins, okay? But we'll jump into that a little more. Well, actually, that's the next point. Type of financing. What type of financing do you have? Are you a cash buyer? Are you conventional, FHA, VA? There are some homes that, depending on the type of financing that you're qualified for, that you can't even buy in the first place, and we shouldn't even go look at them. But let's just say, let's say you're a VA borrower or an FHA borrower, and you're going in against maybe cash buyers or conventional buyers. They have the preferred either financing or cash, right? So you're in the secondary category already. So what we have to do is we have to tailor that contract to the seller so that your offer is still attractive, despite the fact that the financing is a little stricter for FHA and VA, right? If this is confusing to you, I understand. We can talk more about that, or I can get you in touch with a lending partner to explain why those 2 different loan programs are so much more complicated. But just know that if you're FHA or VA, you're not going to be as strong of a buyer as someone who's conventional, okay? So you have to factor that into how you present your offer. Days on market and condition. So we're going to talk more about this on each individual little listing here, but basically you want to see how long the property's been on the market, right? If it's been on the market for a week or less and inventory in that area is selling quickly, it is not in your best interest to try and lowball the seller. It's you could alienate yourself to the point where they don't want to work with you at all, or in the time that you're waiting for them to counter your offer, they could receive a way better offer, and then you're completely out of the game, right? So this is where your motivations are very important. Okay, the condition of the home based on the comps, right? So if this house is in way better condition than the average, expect that home will probably sell first. It'll sell faster. If it's in lesser condition, worse condition, it might sit a little bit longer, or it could be priced so aggressively that it'll actually sell above asking, which is an example that I have here as well. Okay. Then, my job is to take into consideration the market conditions. What's happening with the inventory? Is it increasing or decreasing? Are we in a seller's market? In most cases, in most places that I do work, we're in a seller's market. Inventory definitely favors the sellers because we don't have as many options available. And especially right now, we've got more limited options and a lot of very serious buyers and sellers. Okay. So those market conditions are definitely going to factor into how we present your offer. And there's going to be a comparative market analysis that I'm going to make for each property, and we'll go over it together. It's going to include a lot of these pieces of information. Okay. That being said, my role as your agent at this point, I'm representing you, the buyer, is I need to reach out to this listing agent and figure out what I can do to accommodate a win-win resolution, right? Just so you know, guys, the way I do business, I do it ethically. I am not here to rip anybody off, and I'm talking even too about in terms of working, with your buyer, making sure we're being fair, because if a seller is being reasonable and my buyer is not being reasonable, don't expect for me to blindly agree with you. And this is the kind of thing that if you're serious, you have to make sure that you're being smart about this, right? There's a reason why you hire us, guys. All right, so what I do is I get with the listing agent and I determine what's going to be a good fit for both parties, right? And what I'm looking for is the answers to the questions that I'm asking, but I'm also looking for information that I'm not asking for. What am I looking for? When I call them, if they have multiple offers on the table, or if they have a ton of showings, they're going to let me know, like, hey, not for nothing, but we have a lot of offers, we have a lot of showings. So could that be a lie? Absolutely. This could all be a lie, right? But they're gambling, because if they alienate you as their buyer by falsely creating competition where it's not there, then they've lost the deal, right? So more often than not, when someone says that there's a lot of activity or an offer on the property or multiple offers, they're usually pretty serious. And that is something that you want to take into consideration. Again, go back to that scale of 1 to 10. How badly do you want it? So at this point, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few of these listings. And so, so this first one is 3805 North Tampa Street. This sold very recently. It sold on 3/5, and it was listed. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath with just over 1,000 square feet, listed at $274,900, which is a very aggressive asking price for this property, right? That's very, very high for the square footage, and this house is on a busy street. So when you're looking at a house on a busy street, the value is automatically going to be less than a house that's not on a busy street, right? Permitted that the comps, all of their things are pretty consistent, right? So that's a really high ask, and this is where I might think like, okay, this house is overpriced. It's on the market for less than 6 days, and it sells, or it's on the market for 6 days, and it sells for $271,960. So it ended up selling for just south of what they were asking. So that's a really aggressive comp, and good for that listing agent for doing that, for getting that done. That's very impressive. But this is a situation where talking to the agent is going to make a big difference in how we present our offer, because this likely had multiple offers, and if you came in with a low ball offer, you likely were not going to be considered to purchase this home, right? Now, the other thing to keep in mind, guys, is that there's the appraisal process anytime you're financing. So appraisers are the gatekeepers for transactions. If the house doesn't appraise, we have contingencies we can put in there to protect you from overpaying. All right, so this option number 2, we have 3702 North Arlington, same neighborhood, but this is not on a busy street. It actually has an additional bathroom. It's a 2-2, but it was being rented at the time, so it took longer to sell. So this was on the market for 84 days. And just so you guys know, after about 30 days is when a listing starts to lose steam, so to speak. That's when we have a little more leverage in terms of being able to offer below asking. And this house was listed at 275. And if you look at that comp at 271, it would substantiate this one, right? This one's not on a busy street. It's got an extra bathroom. And we're going to go ahead and assume that the condition is comparable, right? But because this house sat on the market for 84 days, likely due to limited showings, they ended up selling for 256, right? Advantage buyer. So the buyer in that case was able to get a better deal because they were willing to work with the fact that the home was currently rented. So then we're going to go to option number 3, which is 201 West North Bay. All right, so this is a real estate owned home, and this looks like it was set up as an auction or some sort of highest and best situation. The house is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and square footage is not even 1,000, and they had it listed at 109. Okay, this is a situation where it ended up selling above asking. It sold for 129, so it sold for $20,000 more, nearly $20,000 more than they were asking. The reason for that is because this was a bank-owned property, and they deliberately undervalued it so that they could drive a lot of traffic to the property. And it looks really to me like there was a highest and best situation with this, where the buyer ended up, running the numbers with their agent and determined that they were willing to pay 129, and they were the winning offer. Had you come in at 110, because it's a bank-owned property, they would not have even paid any attention to you. There'd be no counter whatsoever, and this guy would have got the house, right? So this is a long video, and I didn't want to rush through this stuff because I think it is important to understand the basics of it. But the reality is, guys, that every property is going to be a little bit different. Every neighborhood's going to be a little bit different, and that's why it's so important. When I say that real estate is hyper-local, I'm not kidding. Like, it's really important. Like, you got neighborhoods like my parents' neighborhood. We submitted an offer to Keller Offers to see if they would make an offer on their house, and they wouldn't even take it because the days on market were too high. You know what I mean? So every market is going to be a little bit different, or a lot of it different. That being said, when we work together, we will talk more about it on a specific per property basis. And what questions do you have? Is there a topic that you want me to talk about? I appreciate you guys. As always, stay happy, healthy, productive, wash those hands, and have a great week.